It's a feast of human flesh. The woman was covered in honey. She was then sprinkled with sea salt and garnished with parsley. Finally, she is shoved alive into the oven. As the temperature rises, the woman struggles, but the man does nothing. It closes the oven door with a vengeance. The woman struggles inside. High-end ingredients are often cooked in the simplest way. In no time at all, a rich human dinner is ready. He slices off a piece of meat with his knife. The meat is chewy but not too sweet. What is it that makes people so cruel? It all started with a $0 purchase at the supermarket. In the spirit of freedom, a huge crowd of customers pushed through the glass doors into the supermarket. The security guards, trampled underfoot, were unable to stop the crowd. Some customers were pushed against the glass and cut their necks. Some were knocked to the ground. The whole supermarket was in chaos. Everyone was fighting over a single item. It wasn't human. The security guard's arm was crushed and he died on the spot. A woman was hit by a speeding shopping cart and died on the spot. Even her hair was caught in the cart and ripped off her scalp. It was only when the police opened fire that they stopped it. This farce culminated in the famous Thanksgiving Day tragedy. The owner of the supermarket kept doing charity work to salvage some of his reputation. But in the midst of the $0 sale, the people who lost their loved ones blamed the supermarket's lack of supervision. A long-planned retaliation is about to take place. The woman who killed the man with the shopping cart had just gotten off work. She saw a mask on the table. At first she didn't care. But suddenly, a masked man pressed her against the wall. He cuts her palm open with a knife, then he dipped her in boiling water. After a while, she was pressed against the iron door of the cold storage room and stuck. Then the masked man came with an axe. At this point, the lady lost her face and ran out of the restaurant. Just as she was looking for her car keys to drive away, the car behind her suddenly starts. She tried to hide in the trash can. Her body was smashed in two. The next day, the woman's lower body was taken down by firefighters with a ladder, but the upper half of her body was missing. This incident caused an instant uproar. Seeing this news, a young man was immediately scared and ready to run away, because on the day of the $0 purchase, as a security guard, not only did he not stop people, instead, he let the crowd rush in. The boy prepared the luggage and passport ready to run away. But then he realized there was a car parked downstairs, turned his head and found a mask on the sofa. He was so scared, he grabbed a bat to defend himself. Suddenly, a blender was stabbed into his abdomen. His insides were churned to a pulp. The masked man strangled him from behind, and then with a push, the guy's head falls to the ground. The masked man puts his head in a backpack, and on his way out, he prepared cat food for the kitten. Finally, his head was placed on the dining table. Not far from it was the body of the previous mom. But the revenge doesn't end there. Next up was the supermarket owner's daughter, Jenny, and her companions. It was their backdoor entrance to the supermarket that led the crowd to break through the door, which led to the tragic events that followed. The girl was playing on a trampoline. Unbeknownst to her, the bottom of the trampoline was filled with sharp knives. The girl was about to be stabbed through the heart. Her boyfriend was watching. The Good Samaritan was worried that his boyfriend would be scared when he saw it, so she twisted his neck. The girl was still jumping higher and higher. She didn't see her boyfriend, whose neck was twisted into a twist. The girl was thus stabbed into a hornet's nest. The tragic death of her friend aroused the fear of Jenny and her companions. Unbeknownst to them, the carnage was approaching. Another couple was about to go to the locker room to play. Suddenly, they were knocked out. Jenny sniffs around. In a trash can, she finds her partner's cell phone. As she wonders, she sees an axe-wielding man on the screen. She dodges the attack and runs for her life. The masked man is in hot pursuit. Jenny hides in a model room full of skulls. She tries to outwit and outmaneuver them. However, the bottle that she inadvertently knocked over revealed her location. Luckily, Jenny was able to confuse her opponent with the spray. That's how she escaped. She met the sheriff right after she left the house. The sheriff asked her about the masked man, but Jenny ran away too fast. And the masked man? She didn't see anything. The number of murders was increasing, but the police had no idea what to do. Jenny's other companion was immediately taken away by her father. They were going to leave the city for a while. When she got home, she packed her bags. Unbeknownst to her, the security guards downstairs had already been taken care of by the masked man. Her father noticed something was wrong and was killed before he could react. The girl upstairs, who was packing, didn't even realize it. She was still pulling out her ear with a cotton swab. Suddenly, a masked man appeared on her mirror. Before she could react, the Good Samaritan emptied her ears. The girl tried to run away, but the masked man was already holding her hostage. He used the girl's cell phone to make a video to attract Jenny. Jenny and her companion arrived at the girl's home soon, but the masked man pushed the girl into a high-speed cutting machine. He quickly escaped. Blood was splattered everywhere. What they ended up with was the girl's incomplete body. Jenny was horrified by the spate of murders. Jenny's parents are canceling tomorrow's Thanksgiving Day event for their own safety. The sheriff however, thought the killer was bound to strike again on Thanksgiving Day, so she told her parents to make tomorrow's event even bigger. Then the police laid a trap at the event, hoping to catch the murderer in one fell swoop, but they clearly underestimated the power of the masked man. On Thanksgiving Day, everything went smoothly at first. Suddenly, a man dressed as a clown chopped off a man's head with an axe. The scene was chaos. Jenny's father realized something was wrong. He took his family to the police car, but the clown shot the policeman dead. The three of them were also knocked out by anesthetic memories. Then the clown drove the police car. The Joker drove the three unconscious men out of the area. Back at the house, he boiled water and sharpened knives to make a sauce. The women were tied to the table and covered in honey. Then they were sprinkled with sea salt and garnished with cilantro. Finally, she was shoved alive into the oven. As the temperature rises, the woman struggles. However, the man does not care and closes the oven door, leaving the woman to struggle. It wasn't long before a plate of fresh lamb was brought to the table. The sight of sizzling human flesh, Jenny and her father screamed in terror, and their missing companions were tied to the seats. The masked man sliced off a piece of meat in front of everyone. Then he removed a cup of blood from another man's artery. After eating and drinking, he was ready to kill all the perpetrators of the year's $0 purchase one by one. Jenny was scared, but she was calm enough. She quietly took out the knife she had with her. She cut the rope and handed it to her partner. Her companion broke free and immediately launched a counterattack against the masked man. Jenny took the opportunity to escape. The masked man found her and chased after her. After escaping, Jenny found the police officers on the ground. She took the pistol from the policeman's body. She was going to go back to rescue her companion, because if she waited for the police to arrive, her companion would already be dead. Suddenly, she stopped by the sheriff. The two of them hid in the room to discuss how to rescue him. That's when Jenny realized that the sheriff's leg was covered with ghost needle grass. This kind of grass is only found in the place where she was kidnapped by the masked man. Jenny immediately realized that the sheriff was the masked man. The sheriff could see from Jenny's expression that she had been exposed, so he confronted her. He said he had a loving wife and that she was pregnant, but she died in the $0 sale, which resulted into dead bodies, so he decided to get back at everyone who started it. Luckily, Jenny's boyfriend arrived in time and escaped with Jenny. Before he left, he opened a hydrogen tank and kept filling the balloon with hydrogen. By the time the sheriff came out with an axe, the balloon had already been filled with hydrogen, but the sheriff didn't care. When he realized it was too late, Jenny shot the balloon. The sheriff is instantly engulfed in flames. The two of them escaped the fire in their car. But the next day, as firefighters cleaned up the scene, Jenny saw a strange-looking man with an axe. At night, she couldn't sleep. She couldn't help but feel that the masked man was near her. The plot of this Thanksgiving is actually quite simple: a story of a vicious social event that triggers psychological trauma and a psychopathic murderer who kills to vent his anger. When the killer is revealed, it's a real surprise, but it's not the kind of surprise that screams, "It's him. I didn't even think of it before." Rather, it's the kind of surprise that says, "How could it be him?" This arrangement is too far-fetched. The murderer of the suspense movie is well hidden. More or less must leave some traces for people to deduce the suspicion of a little bit, and later reveal can also make sense. The motive of the sheriff is understandable, but the process of his crime cannot be logically closed loop. At least to split the crime from the time is not good arrangement.